Alrighty, what is going on, ladies and gents? Welcome back to the channel for another market update. Hope everybody had a lovely day. And with that being said, let's dive into the TA. All right, guys, we got pretty crazy day here. Okay, they had us in the first half, but the overnight move, oh, we were spot on. All right, we didn't know NVDA was going to bring the markets. We didn't know that the courts were going to shut down Trump's tariffs. We didn't know what had happened. All right, when you're in the right place at the right times, you just so happen to get lucky more often than not. You know, luck happens quite often in the markets. He just, you know, the charts usually come before the news. Listen, guys, we could have sold. All right, we started, you know, we started falling off a cliff intraday over here. All right, into the close. You had this crap going on here. Well, I'm just going to say, it was a complete fake out before they brought this thing straight up. And now we have, guys, so many setups are, you know, they just, the flame, all right? The flame, these setups just, they were ignited, all right, across the board. The MAGS ETF we pointed out in yesterday's video, guys, every single MAG 7 stock is looking like it's gonna go freaking nuts, all right? People are going to be like, oh, now you're pushing up. You have a divergent high. I'm going to be completely honest. This looks like you're starting a whole nother freaking leg up right now. All right. You look at how QQQ and SPY are set up right now. What the heck is going on? All right. What's going on is the markets just got exactly what they wanted to hear. Not only did Mr. Jensen over there decide to pump the absolute freaking market full of his AI vision there. All right, you thought the AI run was over? Oh, psych, it's just getting warmed up, apparently, according to Mr. Jensen. All right, we don't know. We don't know, but I'm telling you right now, if there is one guy who knows, it's probably going to be that guy, all right, who's at the forefront of all of it. Yes, he's definitely trying to pump his stock. All right, yes, he definitely sent this thing into the stratosphere again. But I'm also going to point out over here, the last few earnings reports, they did end up selling. And this one, you gapped up a decent amount here. All right, you did go, you know, a whole 4%. That's, you know, kind of where we're at right now. We're up like 5% in the overnight session. All right, and then over here, you also got a little, you know, gap up, followed by that, a big old rug pull. So, you know, be on the lookout for that. If you were somehow longing over here into NVIDIA earnings, on NVIDIA specifically, please take the profits off the open, because if it does even start to get back part of this move, like, you're going to get IV crushed in an instant. So there's that. If you took the trade idea I gave you in yesterday's video, all right, your lotto trade idea, even if it was the strangle, the riskier version of that bad boy, yeah, you got paid. It was, from what I was telling you guys, yeah, the 245C, they were going to be a 4x from yesterday's close. But guess what? You got a better entry even the following day if you took it. Okay, so there's that. And then I also point out next week's calls over here. They're just going to be the ones that, you know, hold together better. Guess what, guys? These things are going to be going to the moon tomorrow. I personally took the NVIDIA trade with ARM over here because of the impulsive move we were getting intraday earlier. I've been keeping this on my radar for quite some time. I tried catching it over here. I got faked out in the end. You know, I could have just held my calls and all would have been completely well. I actually would have caught in a banger, and that would have been that. But, you know, it's okay, because we did end up still catching the banger over here, just with a little less size than we had on over there. But, you know, I'm just going to say, guys, I've been looking for this impulsive move, this impulsive 1 to 2 day move that brings this thing up 5 to 10%, all right, and send these contracts into the stratosphere to bring the daily RSI into overbought territory. I've been looking for that, you know, since inception. You've only gotten this 5 times where you get this close to 70 over here, and every single time you do make your way up into overbought territory on an impulsive move. Over here, it just happened to be the mother of all, you know, crazy gap ups over there, and you had a 50% freaking day. All right, I'm not expecting it to be something like that, but, you know, if something is done it 5 out of 5 times every single time you've had this impulsive move to bring the RSI into over 70, yeah, I assume it's probably going to happen this time. They had me in the first half, and guess what? The thing is, it's just going. And that's a similar look to what we have on pretty much every single MAG 7 stock right now. They all look ready to freaking move. All right, I know you're already getting a big move over there, but you guys, you knew how things were looking coming into today. I know. I know they decide to sell you into the end of the day, but you know, at the end of the day, okay, everyone was just on edge, nervous, going back and forth. That's why we had the mess of a day we had over here. If you look at the smaller time frames, that's why, you know, people are taking off positions, people are adding positions. That's why you get a whole bunch of absolutely nothing all day. And then I'm guessing that's exactly what caused this crap over here, is just last minute adjustments. Okay. As we could see in hindsight, yeah, everything kept going. And honestly, what I showed you guys on the video, how the last two earnings, they ended up falling off there. Well, I'm just gonna, you know, state my open and honest opinion here. I don't think that's the probable scenario tomorrow. I think with how everything is reacting right now, with how the Nasdaq is up freaking 2% overnight, yeah, I think we are set up to have a little bit of continuation here. And I'm not saying all-time highs is going to be the thing. And by the way, this arrow, yeah, we drew it this morning on stream over here before we hopped off. Guess what? I didn't think it was going to play out, but this was the bearish scenario if we were going to get the pullback. And then I was thinking we'd get the move up intraday. We did not. Okay, we did not. We did end up pulling all the way back down here over to 33750 though. Right over there where we had the 4-hour 21 EMA, bulls defended right where they had to, and they freaking sent you. Okay, they freaking sent you. All right, but let's go over some levels, guys. Things I just want to, you know, make it very clear. Everything's looking insanely bullish right now. And up front on this video, I just want to say, pat yourself on the back if you're catching us. All right, or if you're catching this, they had us in the first half, real talk. And then they decided to send it overnight, and now, you know, testing my baby over here. Guess what? It's kind of confirmed the bull thesis here. You know, in the overnight session, this thing's sitting up 368, 369. Robotaxi announcement came out right after the bell today, right after close, on June 12th, I believe it is, that will be coming to just one state. They're going to be doing trials over there, but they're going to be live trials there. And that'll be cool. But what also apparently got announced today, that guess what? Elon is leaving Doge, and I think tomorrow is going to be his last day, is what someone just told me. So honestly, guys, yeah, I think this thing just got the catalyst to freaking, you know, light the fire over here under this guy's butt. And yeah, he's going to be running because that fire is going to be burning hot. All right. He doesn't want to burn his butt. He wants to keep running. So I'm just going to say it was already my top watch over here on Tesla. If they pulled back, it was probably just going to be creating a buying opportunity into 354.99. Hey, all right. You know, you're not even seeing the full overnight session right now. But yeah, this thing is flying. And I think we have a potential for a 5 to 10% day tomorrow. But more specifically, we're talking 380 to 400 in the short term here, I think is well on the table. So that's what we're watching over there on Tesla. But let's go over the levels over here on the indices. And then we'll go over all the Mag 7 stocks. I'll show you the setups that I'm personally watching / playing right now. Again, this move overnight, you know, if you missed it, guys, I think it's fine. Okay, there's a solid chance you get these intraday pullbacks after these big gap ups, and you could, you know, get a better entry point on there. But also, this gap up did ignite some of these setups. You know, if Tesla there doesn't gap up all that much, either, you know, maybe take half position off the open. I'm not saying, you know, short dated calls at this point. I would just be playing, you know, June calls, something like that. But I think this move is just getting started. I think we have another 40 to 60 points in the short term that's about to happen over the next 1 to 2 weeks. Real talk, let's just look at the weekly chart. All right, like this is something that, you know, tomorrow it's probably, honestly, it's probably going to get up to 375, 380 tomorrow. At that point, this weekly candle extends all the way up here, following that consolidation. It is literally doing another one of these things. And once it actually went from that first initial breakout day, all right, it went $119 over 119 points there over 2 weeks. Okay, that means from this high right here, if it's going to behave the same way, which I'm just going to say, we have not similar, all right? We have, I think, you know, a better catalyst going on here. I think it's the best Tesla really can have for the time being to ignite this fire over here. And yeah, I'm just saying, we could see some crazy shit going on. Pardon my French. We could see some crazy stuff going on in the short term over the next 1 to 2 weeks, okay? So that's Tesla, but coming over here to SPY, guys, And yeah, if you don't get too big of a gap up, maybe take half off the open, half on a pullback. That's how if I miss some of these things, guys, it is always better to take the patient route there. And, if you do want to chase, I like just entering with half position. Someone asked me in the Discord that's why it's fresh on my mind. I like just taking the half position size. And then if I get the opportunity to add a better entry, or take a better entry, then either add more with size or just take the second half of the position. But typically, if I get that, depending on how confident I am on it, if I get that better entry point, I'll just get a further out expiration, add some more size to it. I got a better entry there. Let me actually put on the trade that I would have wanted to take. And that's usually going to be my approach there. But a lot of these gap ups, they just ignite some setups, and to me, it confirmed Tesla's bull case. So if this thing opens up around 370, 375, somehow it pulls back to 365 tomorrow, today's high, guess what? That's the entry I speak of. That's what I'm talking about. So it's not the end of the world. Just try and do your best to stay patient for those entries there. But VIX is something we pointed out that I thought it was probably going to be coming back down to this low. Normally when we break the structure over here, we'll come down to the next area of interest, and that is likely going to be down here. And with what's happening, I'm guessing that is probably actually going to take out 1715, that low tomorrow. VIX futures, they're really not down all that much right now. But I'm imagining, but yeah, if markets stay elevated like this, NASDAQ is up 2% for the open tomorrow somehow. And yeah, I'm just saying VIX is probably gonna start heading back down here. But very well, guys, if the market does open up 2% up over here on the NASDAQ, yeah, it's probably going to pull back. So just realize that as well if you're catching, the overnight gains. I think some setups like ARM over here, I think this has some squeeze potential behind it. And I was looking for these big impulsive moves. And, on a lot of them, you get the gap ups and you just kind of go off of there, just like something over here. I'm not saying we're going to have a day like this. I don't think we have a catalyst like that. I think the market's just kind of, by luck. Again, right time, right place. All right. So you're going to get more, lucky than if you're not in the in the right place at the right time. But if there's anything with squeeze potential, I'd say Tesla and ARM are the two that I am paying attention for that specifically. Yeah, I mean, I'm thinking we could very well get a pullback if we open up 2%. Let's look at it this way. We have a very low VIX. We're going to have the lowest VIX we've had in a while. If it does what I'm thinking and takes out that 1715 low there, at that point, we're going to be talking a 2% move on the NASDAQ. Like, that's pretty extended for what VIX is really, not that we have to, stay within what the VIX is suggesting, but for really what it's suggesting and allowing there at these low prices. Like, we're not looking for a crazy move, okay? But we already got a crazy move coming into the open, so just limit your expectations there. And, if you get the pullback, I think that's where the opportunity is going to present itself, okay? So there's that. We're just going to mark that as a blue level there. If we just so happen, let's see where we be opening up here. So this is by 1.5%. So yeah, so ES is just about right over here. Okay, so if you open up here, you pull back over here. Well, if you just closed out with this fresh breakout 4-hour candlestick, it looks like you're probably getting another leg up. So if you get like a day of pullback there, then you are probably just going to see that, just do this where you get bought up eventually and you just keep stair stepping higher. So if you pull back here, open up, where is that? Right over there, 596. Okay, so if you're opening up right here, let's say you pull back all the way down here, that already is a 0.7% wick that can be formed on the day. If you find buyers down here, which I'll tell you, if you open up there and pull all the way back, it's all a chance the 15-minute RSI and 5-minute RSIs, they're going to start getting into oversold territory. Maybe the 5-minute one gets a bullish divergence. Maybe I don't know. Maybe it's picture perfect. You don't know how things are going to set up, but if you do see that, I think that is the move that is probably going to get bought, and that could provide a valid entry over there, and this an area for you to start taking on risk, as opposed to just buying the massive gap up. Just my 2 cents there, okay? But as far as levels go, guys, price is currently at 596.61. So on the downside, we're watching 595.54, 592.77, which was today's high. That's going to be a gap, and then 586.62. But we're not going to talk about these because yeah, you're going to have to get through this guy first. But very bearish sign. If you know, we're going to find out real quick, not real quick tomorrow, but we will find out tomorrow if this whole move is going to fade or not. You know, if NVIDIA does what I was just pointing out the last 2 quarters there, if it does end up getting the gap up, going a little higher, and then boom, hitting it with a big minus 10 to 15% candlestick that creates a bullish engulfing candlestick on the daily time frame. That happens, the whole market's likely to follow suit. And yeah, we'll find out by tomorrow if you are going to get this scenario right here where you just boom, you close underneath today's low over here. All right, so we're just going to mark that out. So on the downside, we're watching 595.54, 592.77, and then 586.99. If you come back to over here, you start taking on, you know, that long risk we were just talking about there. All right, you're really just going to be using this as your risk. Like, that's your risk level guaranteed. You know, if you break under 586.99, today's low, that yeah, it was a giant bull trap. You're completely wrong. That's that. But, you know, it was the same thing over here where we were pointing out, like, that next candle, it's going to kind of confirm the move. If we hold here, this thing, it could keep going. All right, we're like 3% away from all-time highs. I'm just, you know, stating the obvious here. We are literally 2.8% from all-time highs. The 4-hour RSI is barely extended right now. I mean, it's not extended at all. It's not even over into overbought territory yet. And once it gets there, especially after these breakout style moves, like, it does like to you know, keep going, dance around a little bit, maybe put in a bearish divergence like it does sometimes. So we pointed that one out before it actually happened. People call me a perma-bull, but they fail to lack you know, the understanding that I call it both ways, and it happens. You just don't show up to the videos every day. It is what it is. I don't really know what to tell you. Just because you came when I had a bullish thumbnail saying, you know, I'm not, no financial advice, but I was trying to tell people to buy the dip because, well, I wasn't trying to tell people, but that is very clear where I was stating that odds, you know, were favoring is bulls. Once we started getting buyers here off of the gap down off the 200 DMA, you know, all we need to see is this this little day over here. Either way, I was thinking it was probable that we were probably going to be moving up off that. But, you know, then we saw yesterday's move, and, you know, today was just digesting that a little, you know, market participants as a whole uncertain there, you know, going back and forth, you know, a bunch of back and forth choppy price action, then boom, followed it with the continuation move the next day. So I think, you know, at this point, it's pretty confirmed that the bulls are the ones in control. They've taken the wheel completely back over here. This was definitely a pullback. The dip got bought. And I think it's very possible to see some higher prices, okay? So on the upside, we have 598.51, 602.48, and 608.13. So that's SPY coming over here to QQQ. All right, you already see my arrow there. You know, if you open up right where you are right here and you get the pullback somehow all the way into today's high, 523.68, maybe 521.95, you were definitely expecting that to be bought up. That would just be retesting where you had a crap ton of supply set in it. Now you have completely flipped it overnight. So anybody who's sitting on the sidelines, yeah, that's definitely going to be an area of interest. You're probably going to see, you know, what was sell orders turn to buy orders if retested. All right, so this is just your next supply zone up here. Above that, we're watching 532.10 to 533.82. So, you know, if you do get above 527.92 there, don't have anything in between here. You see how, you know, you don't have a lot going on in between this zone and this zone. Probably going to slice right through it. All right, it's only 0.8%, so it's not anything crazy there. But on the downside, we're watching 572.92, 525.97. Underneath 525.97, you're watching 523.68 today's high, and then 521.95. But currently, you're gonna have to get back most of today's move, and if you even get back down there, honestly, that's a pretty ugly look. We don't really want to see it. With the news that just happened, we kind of do just want to see this gap and go. I'm kind of sure Donald Trump is going to do its thing and get mad about, you know, pretty much the courts, the world, you know, saying, screw you, Donald Trump, okay? We're not giving into this, all right? He's just not going to like it. He's probably going to come out bearish this. I don't know. I just know the guy at this point, okay? So just be on the lookout, okay? Be on the lookout. And then, so yeah, downside 572.92, 525.97, 523.68, and 521.95. On the upside, above 527.92, we have nothing until 532.10 to 533.82. That's the next supply zone. And above there, we're going all-time highs, baby. Right now, guys, again, we're at less than 3%, all right, 2.4% over here on the NASDAQ, away from all-time highs. SPY, S&P 500 is only 2.8%. Like, this is looking juicy, guys. All right, now let's quickly go over these Mag 7 stocks, okay? First of all, the MAGS ETF, guys. Again, 4-hour RSI, it's just now getting into it. Either we're going to hit it with something like this, which I think is much more likely we hit it with something like this, where this thing over the coming session just kind of decides to keep going over there. But even if it's going to be something like that, like, we still are expecting it just kind of stair step up. So, you know, if you get the dip, expect the dip to be bought. That's all I'm saying. But MAGS ETF, we need to watch the MAG 7 stocks. We knew what stocks to actually be paying attention to. Tesla, Meta, Amazon. These are the ones I pointed out in yesterday's video. These are the best looking. Of course, NVDA was not looking bad at all. It's definitely pointing that out. And then I personally point out to my Discord today that it would just look pretty funky to me. I mean, not even just funky. I just, pointed out, yeah, every single time. Not every single time, but just over the last few years, you just haven't had this condition happen. You have not pushed up to an equivalent, all right, an equal weekly high there. You just haven't had an exact equivalent high and then drastically sold. You have not marked a major, looking top here with that look. It just hasn't happened. Like, this is a long upper wick. This is that. You have that, but you went slightly above it over here. And again, you have a long upper wick going on here. It looks like you want to pivot off of this candlestick. That's how it was looking to me beforehand. Still how it's looking afterwards. And yeah, guess what? You did pivot off of it. But you can look back over the last few years. You really don't have any major looking top, that produced a big sell with an equivalent wick like that. It would just look real funky to me. And then also, if you came back down here, I was just going to look for buyers anyway. So yeah, I was definitely leaning towards upside here. We're definitely, flagging out here. We just got a fresh little breakout from this flag pattern. It was looking real juicy, okay? But we're going to start with my baby over here, Tesla. Tesla, you had me in the first half, but I knew the thesis. It's either invalidated tomorrow or, yeah, it's going to have the flame given to it. And then, yeah, Tesla's full of gasoline right now, and then it explodes in the upward direction, okay? It's going to be run so hot because its butt is on fire, so it has to run so hot. Got to go up, baby. It's got to go up. But real talk, guys, I'm thinking we open around 370, 375 tomorrow. Pull back to 365 would provide a buying opportunity, in my opinion. I think this is the run we're on right here. I just pointed out at the beginning of the video that, the last one over here, past the initial breakout day close, you ran up, what was it, 114 bucks over there. That's quite a bit, okay? I do think we are in one of these breakout style moves. It's the same thing over here over the coming days, guys. That's 1 week right there. 5 trading sessions there. You ran $55, 27%. Okay, 27%. Imagine if we run 27% from that. We're going $100 in a week. I'm not saying that's going to happen. I don't think that's going to happen. But I do think we're in one of these impulsive moves. And yeah, we're going to have probably a few weeks to actually ride this trend out. I'm hyped about it. It's my favorite Mag 7 stock right now. Amazon, guys, I pointed out how Amazon and Meta, they had these clean bull flag, bull flag, falling wedge, whatever you want to look at these as. Break and retest. Okay, that happened yesterday, and then they got bought up. They were looking real nice. And then you had, your consolidation day today. And as we see in the after hour, they're actually just exploding, all right? This is actually on the focus list this week for a break above over here, 202. It was right over here for that high. We were looking for, you wanted to be risking off that level. Look for a breakout, maybe break and retest above 202.37. And then your first target was going to be 206.85. Second, 208.85. And then third is 211.93. Guess what? You went straight to 211.93 today. And yeah, all right. This thing looks like it's going to continue. That's what I'm saying. Like, I think everything just started these impulsive moves where we are probably going to, have some breakouts here. Amazon has a very similar look to Meta. But as far as Amazon goes, guys, look for 216.20. If you do gap up here, it probably is going to pull back like 1% and produce a wick. That's what I'm thinking. It can just continue, but I'm just saying, I don't think that's probable. I think we very likely are going to get some profit taken. It just makes sense after, this is NVIDIA's crazy earnings. Everybody else can look at what I was looking at. Okay, they sold off the past few quarters, even off gap ups. Yeah, all right. There's still a chance this thing gives back, the whole move, if not, just a large chunk of it. So profit taken off the open, very likely in my opinion. All right, but that's Amazon. We're going to move over here to Meta. It has the same exact look to it. You did sell, drastically into the close here. You had that little shooting star style candlestick there on the daily. But now we see we're over 650.88. We're over today's high. And if we hold that into tomorrow, which I think is very likely, either way, the 4-hour chart looks immaculate. It doesn't matter what happens tomorrow off the open. You could pull back and you could open around over here. I'd still think it's probably going to get bought up. And then, yeah, I would be targeting 662.67. And then 675.25 above there, 688.65 after that. But I did point out in yesterday's video, I think a 20 to 40 point move is definitely on the table over here, like a daily move into end of the week over here. Probably one of these days, like we could really see something pop off. Some of these things freaking rip once they get going. Right here, $17 move. Next day, $19 move. That's the 40-point move I speak of. Okay, like this can happen so quick. It could happen in 2 days. We got the start of it today, and going into tomorrow, we're already gapping up. Above 641.86, which is the level we pointed out there. Yeah, it's probably going to be coming up to 662. It just looks extremely likely after this big overnight move here, after hours move. Now, overnight session, they're just holding still. We'll see how they open in pre-market. All right, but that's Meta. The video over here, it's it's pretty obvious. The thing looks pretty nice. We don't know if it's gonna hold this move or not. I would say it's probably gonna hold this move unless it gives back a large chunk around the open. Okay, so currently it's trading at 141.40. All right, so that's gonna be right over here. If it opens up around 139 and then it takes out today's low, at that point you know that it probably is doing some crap like that. You see how it took out the low there? Boom, went like that. Let's see right over here. See how it went up, but then you came all the way back down. If you get a drastic move like that and then return back to the scene of the crime, it's a sign of weakness. All right, and then boom, you took out that low. Yes, you did get bought, but it marked the start of that little downturn. All right, so that's really going to be the signal to get bearish over here on the video. But until that, I would say, it's better to be bullish until proven otherwise here on this ticker, along with everything else I'm looking, at across the board. Apple, guys, Apple is now rocket shipping with the other Mag 7 stocks. Well, 209.48. All right, those level we're watching out. Now I'm just going to say, like, it looks pretty obvious. Get above 206.75, which I'll remind you, we are above right now. Up there, it looks like it's just going to be targeting 214.56. And once it does break above there, I've talked about it, okay? I want to see a breakout over here. You came all the way back down. Bulls hold it exactly where they need to hold it, because the weekly chart, like that was where that last weekly low was. So you're going to be making a lower low. That wasn't going to be the best look after that lower high right here at the 21 EMA. Well, guess what? Okay, if this thing holds for the open, we now have a weekly candle. This thing's at 208 right now. The weekly high is now what I'm going to say to watch. It's the clearest day. Oh, it's still the same exact level to watch. You got to be kidding me. Okay, I took it off just to put it back on. Regardless, guys, that is the weekly high right there. And if you do get above that, guys, we have a massive, massive, a little gap up followed by you taking out that previous big red weekly high right there. That thing looks like it wants to take out the 21 EMA there, wants to get over 214.56 probably the following week, and then it wants to push up to 225.70. That is going to be where that 200-day moving average sits right now. Does not mean it's going to head straight up there. Things do not go up in straight lines. They do not fall in straight lines, okay? But I do think it is something that will be hit, all right? 220 and 225 are on the table if it can take out 214.56. But, yeah, above 209.48, the move to 214.56 becomes likely. Above there, the move to 220, 225 becomes likely. That's how I'd be playing and looking at it. Google over here, guys, same situation. It's rocketing, okay? It's having itself a ball, all right? Field day over here. Yeah, it looks like it's probably going to continue, okay? Above 176.90, okay? We're watching 183.34. That's going to be where that 0.618 fib is. All right, Microsoft over here, guys. You're pulling back. Do I need to say it? You're rocketing after hours like everything else. I'm just going to point out the 4-hour RSI. I know you have these bearish divergence going on, but the thing wants all-time highs. I think it's going to get all-time highs before it, an actual pullback here. It's just, how it's looking compared to everything else, Big picture, that's what we're looking at. SMH, it's also having a field day in the after hours over here. Fresh breakout above 249.44. Imagine if this thing gaps up over here, pulls back, gets a lower wick, and starts continuing. Next stop is 260. All right, so that's SMH. TSM, guys, again, it's having a field day. Everything's having a field day. That's pretty much it. We're gonna have a field day off the open. All right, that's gonna be the thing. We're gonna take some profits over there. All right, they decided to have the mother load of all good news. Oh, also on the big NVIDIA day, that was definitely planned. I ain't no conspiracy theorist, okay? But it's kind of crazy that all the good stuff happened, especially on Tesla. All the good stuff happened just all in the same day there. All right, but let's just review the tickers that I'm personally going to be paying attention to tomorrow. All right, AVGO. No, I didn't take this one. I personally took ARM to play the NVIDIA move up. If it was going to happen, I figured, charts, they look, more likely than not, they were going to make that move. So I put on the bet over there. I played weeklies on that. But AVGO, this was the actual idea I shared in yesterday's video for anybody who wants to play NVIDIA earnings without actually playing NVIDIA, because the premiums just aren't really going to be moving all that much, even if you get 4 or 5% move like you're up right now. Okay, but AVGO, yeah, these things are going to be up 200% off the open, the weeklies, and from where I pointed them out, they should be up 4 to 5x. If not, we're talking 5 to 6x off the open tomorrow if it opens up where it is. Okay, so that's AVGO. ARM specifically, all right, I'm currently in it. I'm going to take off the short dated calls off the open. I'm going to leave next week's calls. And I am, I am thinking this thing is probably going to be continuing pushing. Okay, I don't think it's going to give us another fake out. I think we're actually going to get this impulsive move, which is probably going to, it's probably going to happen something like this, where we have a gap up and go. That's what happened on all of these impulsive moves over here. You had either a little gap up or a decent sized gap up like this one over here, and you kept going. But I'm looking for that impulsive move here, and I think we have a recipe for hitting 150. I think it's on the table tomorrow, in my opinion. Let's look at it this way. If you gap up here, it would be real ugly to just fade it. So I don't think you're going to fade it. I really don't. I think it's much more likely now that you're gapping up. Like, you're literally up here to I think 141. Yeah, 140. I think overnight session, maybe 141 right now. Like, that's you gapping up all the way up here. Yeah, it's either just going to continue moving off the open here, hit 145 to 150, or it's going to pull back a little bit, test 138.50, and then it continues. Like, either or here. That's what we're looking at on ARM. All right, bros, this one that was just showing just relative strength all day today. You saw how the indices closed. This thing closed out with a indecision candlestick. Well, those just look pretty bearish at the end of the day. Okay, I think it's something that's just going to keep ticking higher here, but you're coming into our, our key trigger level 4. This thing's probably going to start gaining momentum. All right, this is where I was saying in yesterday's video that I think we could get some 5 to 10% days on the table here. And that's where, contracts are really going to start pumping like they have over here on these moves. I think it's right around the corner here. And yeah, I know it's not moving crazy overnight like some of these other tickers are, but look at this way. This weekly candle is going to be up here. It takes a very small push to get it up to 74 bucks. Once you take this out, PLTR 3.0, baby. We called it before it happened. We called it last week. I put it on your radar last week. And if this works out, baby, we got the next big ripper. Okay, I'm thinking ARM. Like this ARM and Tesla, those are really, we've milked the absolute shit out of Tesla here. All right, I took a little loss not too long ago, but at the end of the day, we saw this July calls just getting loaded. The June, July calls, especially the July 440s, they were getting freaking loaded to the freaking boat. Okay. So yeah, all right. We took a stab at it again. I think that is going to be, the big winner of, for right now. I got some short dated calls I put on yesterday as well. But those in ARM, I'm thinking those are in the short term. These are the multi-baggers I'm looking at. If NVIDIA was going to go my way, it was going to go my way. I was going to find out real quick if I was wrong or right tomorrow morning. But, at the end of the day, guys, don't be putting yourself in situations where you're going to be losing your freaking mind if it goes against you. I was trying to, tell the Discord today, I recorded a Discord welcome video, and I'm recording a new one because that one turned into a 30-minute video, and I feel like I can get my point across in like 10 to 20 minutes. But I spent like 10 minutes going over position size and risk management. Like I get messages, I see cancellation reasons, stuff like that, and I feel like more often than not, it's like we have heaters, okay? Heaters. Like I have multi-baggers, like it's a weekly thing in my group. Like I tell people all the time, 2 to 4 like clean setups we get every single week. A lot of the weeks we get a lot more. Like this week we're gonna get a lot more, and it's the second day of the week. Okay, we had a banging start to the week yesterday. All right, Oklo started slipping on me. We closed it out for 150 to 200%. It was 150%. But I could have closed it out, close to that 200% mark after we already hit, a 3x on it on the shorter dated calls. Straight up, these are the things like you don't need to be risking it for the biscuit on every single play. You don't need that's why people blow up, because you are guaranteed to get some things wrong in trading. It is going to freaking happen. We had TEM. I got shat on over here on TEM. I had an order to get filled off the open, and I chased it down all the way to freaking $60. Now, luckily, I did end up getting filled eventually, and the thing ended up falling off a cliff way further than where I sold at. But I'll tell you, all right, it's a shitty freaking feeling. But at the end of the day, we got shielded from the pain on other things. And now that we're seeing the after hours move, yeah, all right. Yeah, it's payday time tomorrow, okay? It's payday time tomorrow. It's time to take off that risk, all right? And maybe reposition into some more dated calls over there. Specifically, I'm thinking Tesla, okay? I'm thinking, honestly, that's really the only play I'm eager to even add to. This is kind of confirmation of the move I've been seeing, guys. I'm telling you, if you don't get a big gap up tomorrow, if you get that pullback here, like I'm telling you guys, this is confirmation that we are probably going to get another like 1 to 3 trading sessions here at least that are going to take us right up into this area. Okay, like this is the only play I'm really eager on. So like I really do just want to take off short dated calls tomorrow. All right, and honestly, either add June calls or just add to the July calls we already got here. And regardless, we're playing it for that move. But that's what I was saying in the beginning of the video. Some of these gap ups, I don't like chasing things, and if I am going to chase it, I'll try and just keep it I'll try and just make myself do like a half position, then I'll take it at a better entry if I still like the setup. All right, that's the approach I usually like taking there. But sometimes the gap ups, they look like everything's going to keep ripping, and in those cases, if I'm missing out, I will identify the setups that I think will rip with or without the market. I think this gap up just kind of ignited the trade, and I can pull, a quick 50 to 100% out of that. I can make some money off the move. I don't feel so bad about missing the move. All right. Tesla's that guy. Okay. Tesla's that guy right now. If you're missing out, I think this move just started. No financial advice will be given on this channel. Don't let me make you FOMO or nothing like that. But I'll tell you right now, taking it from, if you get the chance at 365 to 370 tomorrow, taking it up to, $400, it's going to feel good. Okay. It's something that you got to put on the risk for. It is what it is. But I do think that the risk is well deserved here in this case. All right. But specifically just on Tesla, there's really not any tickers that I'm really going to be hammering the table on besides what I pointed out earlier on ARM. All right. So that's that. And aside from that, guys, there's no other tickers that I'm going to hammer the table on. Or pound the table on. There's absolutely no reason to really push things. I think HIMS did, outperform others today. I know it is pumping the after hours with everything, but I specifically like the daily candle over here. If it can take out 56, 52 over here, I think this is one that's probably going to start moving back up to highs. Definitely something that, we could clearly see once it gets going, especially out of these consolidation areas like that. Okay. And, I would consider this a giant consolidation area. Oh, it can bring the impulse moves, guys. It could do those. All right. So that's, I would say if you want to watch, if you didn't play the overnight move there and you don't have profits take in the morning, I would really just say, I'd say HIMS over here above 56, 52. I'd say Tesla off 265 to 270. And I would say ARM, if you get the retest of 138.50, that is where, I would really like that. But I don't think you're going to get the retest of 138.50 here on ARM. I think this it is going to gap up and just start kind of giving us one of these days over here. Not saying the absolute massive day, but yeah, I think a $10 move definitely on the table tomorrow. And from today's close, Yeah, that would be us in 145, 146 tomorrow. Okay. All right. With that being said, guys, I hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you did, just please remember to leave a like so we can, pump our stock here on the channel, pump the YouTube algorithm, get some new people over here. Welcome aboard if you are new here to the channel. I know we got, probably like 7,500 new people overnight. So if that is you, welcome aboard. I will be doing these 5 days a week. We do a weekly update and then we do 4 daily updates a week, Monday through Thursday after the close. And pretty much go over, did anything change? What are we looking from here? What are the levels we're paying attention to? What's the game plan for tomorrow? And then, and sometimes I go over the Mag 7 stocks and give you guys my trade ideas at the end of the video more often than not. If you do want to come trade with me, I actually did open up a new promo code. It's just going to be running for tonight. And you guessed it, yes, it's code Tesla. If you want 30% off of your first month, use code Tesla. Link will be down below. But I will be live every morning over there, and you can come trade with me and have all you need pretty much to be killing these markets. Okay, I'll obviously be sharing my execution. You could trade live with me, but don't feel like you need to take everything I'm taking. My main goal is just to put everything that's going on in the market, it's on your radar. If something's really moving, you got the opportunity, you got a setup, I will put a lot of these things on your radar ahead of time before they're actually moving. And then I will obviously also provide guidance on, indices and just relative trading across the board. I think it is a valuable tool. All right, so give it a shot for 30% off using code Tesla, TSLA. Why? Because Tesla's the baby over here, and Tesla's about to give us a big fat payday off of this news / just the confirmation that we are moving up to a new high tomorrow. All right, so I'm looking for it. I hope you guys have a lovely trading day tomorrow, and peace.